So our first inductee in the special category will be the Clayton family. Wayne Curry, assisted by Ron Seafoot.
All right, thank you. Tonight I have the honor of inducting my childhood baseball idols into the Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame. The three Clayton lads originally of Clyde, Manitoba: Greg, Randy, and Wolf, as well as their father, Stu. In southern Manitoba, the Border League during the 1970s, there were more men's baseball teams than there were baseball diamonds. This meant the Clyde Kays began their team without a ball diamond and started playing home games out of the Manitou Fairgrounds when the Manitou team played away games. The Kays just went on to win the Border League a few times in that first decade. And this team was led by their late player coach, Stu Clayton, and Stu stabilized his Kays top half of the border lineup with his three sons all batting there as they did their entire careers wherever they played. Stu's three sons followed Stu's footsteps down the base paths, with Greg, Randy, and Wilf all continuing to play, coach, and compete in senior baseball themselves for over 30 years. But who is the best ball player of the Clayton siblings with us here tonight? Well, that's Juanita. Juanita Clayton is already in the Manitoba Softball Hall of Fame, and of course participated for Canada as a starting catcher in the 1996 Olympics. So let's recognize Juanita. Juanita was able to glean a great deal of baseball IQ, humility, and determination from Stu and the three Clayton brothers, on and off the ball field. You see, these three Clyde ball players here tonight were absolute gamers. All three of them, to use a line out of Ken Burns' 9 innings of baseball, would run through hell in a gasoline suit just to play baseball. Greg Clayton, number 6, he played, coached, umpired, and maintained the ball diamonds in Clyde and Manitou. Greg was a perennial all-star at third base in the Border League, and later became a pitcher when his teams needed. And Greg just never seemed to age. In fact, Greg still plays in baseball during the winters while in Texas. With music and singing in his blood, Greg doesn't have to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" because his house is located 200 feet behind home plate at Manitou. Randy Clayton, number 27, played, coached, and traveled to play at various levels of competitive baseball. He was just inducted last year as a player on the 1997 team that captured silver at the Canada Summer Games back then. Randy played locally with the Clyde Kays in the Border League, college at Mainville, summer baseball in Sewers of the MSBL, in Edmonton with the Tigers, and Randy further went on to obtain his teaching position in Hinckley, Minnesota, and continued his life in the United States while playing down there. He now resides in Kansas City and made the trip back here again for this event. Wilf Clayton, number 13, played, coached, umpired, wrote newspaper articles, provided diamond maintenance, and administered baseball. Although Wilf was a player who tried to win at all costs in senior baseball, he was not the same with his minor baseball coaching style. The young minor ball players Wilf coached for 13 years were lucky to have his tutelage, and he was all about development. The kids were encouraged to swing the bats so they could be hitters and not lookers trying to get a walk. His one-team rule was, if you struck out on 3 pitches at your eyes, no problem. At least you're trying to hit the ball. But if you never swung at any of those 3 strikes and you went out, you had to sit on the bench, and your team had to play with 8 only on the field. So that's what I call developing young players. Wilf's hustle and gamesmanship not only inspired his future Olympian sister, but myself and others in the area. He also had the eye of his opponents, fans, and umpires, as well as his teammates. If you were at the ballpark and Wilf was playing, you better pay attention, as he had a knack for keeping everyone on their toes. He also hit for power and average from both sides of the plate, stole and obtained many extra bases on the base paths. As a catcher, he knew every batter's weaknesses in the Border League, and made Wilf a very valuable weapon for his father Stu and the pitchers he caught. Wilf is the most determined individual I've ever had the pleasure to encounter. Those of you from the area who know Wilf, you know what I mean. One example could be that he was not born naturally ambidextrous, but who else do you know played every position well, both hands, catching and throwing? Please join me and celebrate the three Clayton brothers and their father Stu of Callida as they enter and solidify the Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Lane, for the kind words. I'm quite pleased with this opportunity to say a few words on behalf of our family. We grew up on a farm near Clayton. Mom and Dad raised 5 kids: Will, Frandy, Greg, Lorianne, and Juanita. Mom passed away in the year 2000 and Dad in 2023. I feel them watching over us tonight, but with 2 completely different views. Dad would kind of be disgusted, thinking we did not deserve this award. He said it like he did many times, we're no better than anybody else. Mom, on the other hand, would enjoy the evening. She'd be surrounded by all her kids, and I think she'd be quite proud. We would like to acknowledge Ron Seafoot for nominating us. And like Lane said, it's kind of ironic that the men in our family have been singled out, yet the best ball player in our family was our sister Juanita. Playing fastball, she made many national teams, starting when she was 16. Like Glenn said, she was a member of the national team that competed in the 1996 Olympics. And from the living room in our farm, it was kind of neat listening when the announcer said, batting for Canada, catcher Wade Clayton. The baseball part of our story starts with Dad. When he was 16, he tried out for the Clyde men's ball team. He made the team, and the coach told him he'd be playing third base and doing a little pitching. And the coach told him why. He said, "You're the only one here who throws the ball overhand." For the next 23 years, that's basically the 2 positions Dad played. He played for Clyde until they couldn't field the team, and then he joined Snowflake. Dad was a line drive type of hitter. He was one of the better batters on the team, and in his younger days, he basically batted leadoff. Dad never won a league championship until his 30th year of senior ball. He made the most of it by hitting 2 doubles in the clinching game. Dad played into his 50s, hitting his last home run when he was 52. In his long career, 2 games stand out more than the rest. And they are both league games played years apart. The first was a league game in Palm Mountain, with Clyde in the middle of a winless streak. Coach Mel Pierce juggled things around, including the batting order, where he had Greg batting leadoff, Randy second, me third, and Dad hitting cleanup. In one of the innings of that game, all 4 of us got on base, with Dad hitting a double off the fence. 25 years later, Man had a home game against Crystal City. Greg's son Jesse was now playing with us, so we asked Dad if he ever thought about playing one more game. Dad said, well, he was pretty sure he could still hit the ball, but he couldn't run anymore. We thought Chris City would allow Dad a pinch runner, which they did. Dad got a single in the game, as did both Greg and Jesse. That hit was 54 years after Dad got his first hit in senior baseball. Randy was the traveler of the family, and in the Border League he played for Snowflake and Clyde. After high school he attended Mayville State College in North Dakota, and he won a national championship playing for Manitoba juveniles. He was also on a silver medal winning team at the Canada Summer Games. He played in the Manitoba Senior League with Sewers, the Alberta Senior League with Edmonton, and finally with Hinckley, Minnesota. When Randy played with Edmonton, third baseman on the team was Randy Gregg, who was a big defenseman with Edmonton Oilers in NHL. When Edmonton came to play in Minnesota against North Stars, Randy was living in Hinckley at the time, so he went to talk to his buddy after the game. While Randy was talking to him, Randy Gregg says, well, here, come back here for a sec. I'll get you to meet some of the guys. So I said, this is Wayne, this is Mark, this is Kevin, this is Grant. Randy was an infielder, second base shortstop, and defensively he was always strong. Batting, he was a pull hitter who hit for a high average. And he was a power pitcher, most effective in relief. One example is when we were playing Morton in the league finals. We were up by 1 run in the last inning of the final game. There was 2 out, but Morton had 2 runners on base with a very tough out coming to bat. Randy, who had been playing shortstop, was called in to pitch. The batter was basically the heart and soul of their team. At a meeting on the mound, we decided to pitch him low inside. Randy's fastball hit the mitt perfectly, the batter popped it up, and when we made the catch, we were league champs. Greg was a perennial Border League All-Star and played on 9 provincial A championship teams. On different occasions, Greg and I played against each other, with Greg's team always winning. One year we faced each other in the semis. So there's the game, and then there's the game within the game. Greg ended up being a double winner because his team won and he hit 2 home runs. We also faced each other once in Westerns, and the outcome of that game was also in Greg's favor. Most of Greg's career, he played third base. He had a good glove hand and an accurate arm. As a batter, he was a spray hitter, usually batting in the high 300s. He was also a control pitcher who logged a lot of innings. We would usually know after 1 inning if the umpire was calling a wide plate. If he was, I knew Greg was going to have a good game. It's funny that after Greg's playing career, he did a lot of umpiring, and he had a reputation for calling a wide plate. For me, I was mostly a catcher. One of the first times I caught for Dad, he gave me advice that became very valuable over the years. He simply said, don't hold your mitt in the same place, move it around. Over the years, I always enjoyed catching Randy and Greg, and when I caught Jesse, it was pretty emotional because the similarities of Jesse's pitching and his dad's and his grandfather's were they were very, very similar. Looking back on my playing, I think clearly of first. Since I was about 5, Dad always took me to all his games. 10 years later, it was the same thing, going to a game with Dad to watch him play. This time in Powell Mound. The difference was that Snowflake had only 8 players. They asked me to play, and that was my first Border League game. Over the years, I still have very clear memories of my first at-bat, first hit, first home run, first league championship, first provincial championship, and first Westerns. Thinking back, Greg remembers the league game in Mayford. In the bottom of the first inning, their first 2 batters reached base. The third batter was a big, strong, hard-hitting ball player. When he made contact with the ball, it was usually hit hard. This time he hit a sharp ground to third base. Greg caught the ball, touched third, threw to Randy at second, and threw to first. Triple play. Second time, this tough batter comes to the plate. There's runners on first and second, and nobody out. This time he rips the scorcher down third baseline. Greg backhands it, touches third, throws to Randy, and he goes to first. Triple play. Third time this batter comes to the plate, there's a runner on first and 1 out. This time he hits a rocket. Right at Greg, who comes up with a Clayton, he throws to Randy, who relays to first, double play. Over the years, we thought, since we played the game we loved, it's good to give back. So amongst other things, we've all coached. And for me, the most fun and enjoyment I've had in sports has been coaching my daughters, Marlene and Brooke and Brandy, and being present when each of them became a provincial champion. In summing up our story, individually, none of us were stars. We're just good average players. And like Dad would say, no better than anybody else. But family-wise, we were able to do some things that very few others have been able to match. We had a family member playing in the Olympics. We had brothers play against each other in Westerns. We had 3 sons and their father batted in the first 4 positions in the batting order, and 3 generations, father, son, and grandson, all get a base hit in the same game. And that's our story.